Commission called Deputy Jeff Blackmer to the stand.
That's your way, BJ.
No. No.
Please raise your right hand. Swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Please have a seat. State your name for the record.
Jeff Blackmer, Deputy Sheriff, Muskegon County Sheriff's Office.
Good afternoon, Deputy Blackmer.
Good afternoon.
How many years have you been a deputy sheriff with the Sheriff's Department?
I've had 6 years with Muskegon County Sheriff's Office and 11 years with Muskegon County Sheriff's Office.
Did you say both? Did you say the same department twice? I missed that.
Cass County and Muskegon County.
Okay.
My apology.
That's okay. Just want to make sure we got that right. April 16th, 2016. Were you on duty that particular morning?
Yes, I was.
And do you recall being dispatched to 2400 North Green Creek Road?
Yes, I do.
Now, were you kind of given some details of the nature of the dispatch? Why you being called to that location?
Dispatch said there was a young lady being chased through the woods by a man with a gun.
Okay. When you get to that address, do you meet up with this young lady?
Yes, I do.
And could you describe for the jury what her demeanor was like when you saw her that morning?
When I made contact with this young lady, she was inside the caller's home. She was shaking, bleeding, gasping for breath, almost seemed as if she was about ready to hyperventilate. Just really shook up.
Okay. Did she appear at all to be under the influence of anything?
No, not that I noticed.
Drugs or alcohol or anything of that nature?
No, sir.
All right. Now, did you happen to get a chance to observe her injuries?
Yes, I did. She had abrasions on her elbow, her shoulder, and she was complaining of her hip hurting and bleeding. So.
All right. You've got photos in front of you, both in the book and on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
This is Exhibit 49. Does that look like an injury you observed on MJN that particular morning?
Yes, it is.
Going to Exhibit 50. Is that, again, an injury that you observed on MJN?
Yes, it is.
Exhibit 51.
Yes, it is.
Injury, same question.
Yes, sir.
52. Injury you observed on MJN that particular morning?
Yes, sir.
And that's where it stops. Okay. Now, after you had an opportunity to, well, I'm assuming, and I don't want you to tell me what she told you, but did you take a statement from MGM when you got there?
Yes, I did.
And did she provide you details of what happened?
Yes, she did.
And did she provide you a general description
Of what he looked?
Of the person that...
Yeah, she did.
Okay. And from what you were told by her, were you able to determine potentially where this scene unfolded?
Yes, after ProMed had taken her to the hospital, I returned back to my cruiser. I turned north onto Green Creek Road, and I located her shoes. She said when she jumped out of the van, she tumbled out of her shoes. And I was able to locate the scuff marks on the side of the road as well as her shoes she came out of.
Okay. I'm going to flip to People's Exhibit 50. Give me 1 second here. All right. Can you describe what we're looking at here, Deputy?
Yes, I photographed this looking southbound. This is a northbound lane looking south on Green Creek Road. And this shoe that is right here is the end of the tumbling marks.
Okay. So in this photograph, we've got a couple of shoes. Did both of those belong to MJN?
Yes, they did.
And obviously you mentioned the scuff marks, and you were attributing the scuff marks to what?
What had caused the injuries to MJN's shoulder,
Okay.
forearm, and hip.
What are we looking at in this photograph?
Same thing. I believe that might be the beginning. No, that would be the tail end of it.
Tail end of what?
The scuff marks on the north side
Okay.
of the road.
Now, were you able, outside of the shoes, outside of the shoes and the scuff marks, did you observe anything else that became of interest to you?
Yes. When I was standing back photographing, I spotted something shiny on the road, and I looked down and I located a .22 long rifle round.
Okay, and if I go back to the other photograph, well, I guess we'll go to this one. In this photograph, what's the orientation here?
Okay, that'd be facing northbound on Green Creek Road. I had driven past the shoes, and most of the photographs were taken from the back of the cruiser this way, southbound. Are you asking for where the...
Yeah, so my next question is, if this is a good photograph for reference, about where, and there's a stick, should be a stick right in front of it, about where did you find that unfired .22 round?
It would have been somewhere in the location, it was more towards the center of the roadway, so it would have been somewhere up in this location here.
All right, so from where you're pointing there, for record purposes, we're talking north of the first, north of the first shoe?
Slightly, just,
Okay.
yeah. I wasn't too far off the edge of my trunk lid of my cruiser when I spotted it.
Okay. And the next photograph here, I think, is a picture of that. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Just so we get the record straight as to what number that is. That last photo was People's Exhibit 52. This one is People's Exhibit 53. It was, I think, as you indicated, it was in the roadway.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, I'm handing you what's been marked as People's Exhibit 172. And I believe all this is opened up, Deputy. If you could, describe what we're looking at, and then maybe pull the round out, please.
This is the evidence envelope to which I put the .22 round in. This would be the envelope that I have put the .22 round in. And this is the .22 round that I picked up off the...
All right. Now, are you familiar at all with the particular brand of that round?
I believe it was a CC.
CCI?
Yes.
Now, are they stamped? Do they have a stamp on the back?
There is one on the primer end, yes.
What's that? What is the stamp?
It's a C.
A C?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Now, when you observed that particular round on that particular morning, well, first and foremost, and I think you've indicated that this was on the roadway itself, and if you could just describe kind of the condition of the road.
Well, the road was dried, and it had a I don't know what that crushed layer is put over top, but it was a pretty rough surface of the roadway.
Okay. And even in this photograph and what you observed, did it appear as though that particular round had suffered some damage as a result of the condition where it lay?
Yes.
And could you describe that, please?
And it looks like it has been run over.
Okay. Now, as far as your knowledge is concerned, is there any indication at all about any rusting, corroding, weathering, like it'd been exposed to the elements?
No, it looked like a new bullet before it had been run over, and I might have run over it myself, pulling up onto the scene.
Okay. Based on the information that you gathered, was that then turned over to detectives?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And was that kind of as far as your involvement in this investigation, was that kind of the extent of it?
Yes, yes, after the pictures.
Thank you, Deputy. I have no further questions, Judge.
Okay, Mr. Johnson, in the cross.
Deputy Blackmer, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Looking at, do you know what the materials are that make that bullet's made of?
I'm sorry, what did you ask?
Do you know what the materials are that make that bullet?
Brass, lead with a copper jacket on it.
Okay. So, in your experience, as I assume you've seen firearms and bullets before,
Yes, sir.
they don't naturally corrode and get rusty and dirty after one rain, correct? I mean, there's some durability to a bullet, isn't it not?
There is.
Okay. So there's no way, you don't have a way to look at this jury and say, look, I can tell you this bullet's been in this roadway X amount of time.
I have no idea how old the bullet is, no.
Thank you. I don't have any further questions.
Okay, you may stand down. Thank you. Next witness, please.
Thank you, Judge. People of the state of Michigan call Jerry Vanderstelt to the stand. Judge, while we're waiting for the witness to show up, I would move to admit People's Exhibit 172.
No objection, Your Honor.
Next photograph.
Nope, this is the unfired round.
Oh, okay. The round in the photograph.
Yes, the rounded. Yes, sir. Sorry.
Please raise your right hand. You swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Please have a seat. State your name for the record.
Jerry Vanderstelt.
Good afternoon, sir. Do you own a business?
I do.
What business is that?
Vans Car Wash and Quick Lube.
And which Vans location, well, let me ask you this, do you own them all or do you own a
I know all of them.
You own all?
Yes.
All right. Do you have a location on Apple Avenue?
I do.
What's that location?
2226 East Apple Avenue.
Now, I have, as the owner or in the normal course of business, does Vans generate invoices or receipts if people come and get oil change?
Every receipt, yes. Every customer gets a receipt.
Okay. I'm handing you what's marked as People's Exhibit 173, and I'll pull it out for you. Have you take a look at that.
Okay.
What is that, sir?
That's a receipt for an oil change.
Okay, and does it indicate the date that oil change happened?
April 16th, 2016.
And does it indicate, does it indicate the vehicle or the customer?
And yes, it does. 2006 Dodge Caravan, Jeff Willis.
Okay. Now, is there a timestamp on that receipt?
8:45 a.m.
And could you tell the jury what that means? When is that stamp put on that receipt?
When the vehicle is processed at the end of the oil change, when he's given the receipt for the credit card or cash receipt, it's handed to him with the sticker that goes in the window.
Okay. So on April 16, 2016, Jeffrey Willis's Dodge Caravan was getting an oil change at that Apple location.
That's correct.
And was finished at 8:45 in the morning.
Yes.
Okay. Now, was that the only time that you saw that van at at that location for that service?
I don't believe so. I think there's a history there. that
Okay.
year.
That's 174. Exhibit 174. Could you describe to the jury what that is, please?
It's basically just a history of the vehicle, of the days, the invoice number, the mileage, what he paid for oil changes, basically for the last how many years?
So each one of these, transaction, or each one of these dates is a transaction at that particular van's for oil changes.
Correct.
Okay. And these are records that you normally keep in the course of your business?
Yes, they're on the computer, so
Okay.
they're accessible to me.
All right. Your Honor, I move for the admission of 173 and 174.
Your Honor, I'd ask, I object to 174 on the basis of relevance.
Well, the relevance is that he's a normal customer at the store. That this may be the place that he goes on a routine basis.
It's tied to the vehicle also?
Yes.
All right, will be received, I find it to be relevant.
I have no further questions of this witness.
Your Honor, I have one question for Mr. Baxter.
Thank you, we stand down.
Okay. Well, Judge, my next witness is going to be one I don't want to.
Is it?
Yeah, I don't want to break up his testimony.
Only 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right, well, this is probably a good time for me to take that break, to take care of these other couple cases, so we're gonna take a break to handle that. It has nothing to do with this case, it's separate cases. We'll take that break. Break for you. Okay, this is People versus Austin Applegate. L 1700-3094. Mr. Wilson, you're gonna have to vacate that table.
All right.
Okay. So you leave your stuff there.
No, I'll just move some stuff out of the way.
I think,
collected,
Okay.
but we wouldn't for prints.
When you go in and you process this vehicle, are you given any idea, if someone say, hey, please look for A, B, and C, or this is a homicide case, or this is a sexual assault case, so look for things that involve those sorts of things. Do you receive any of those types of instructions?
Sure, we're always briefed by the agency that's investigating the case on, what the situation is. Why are we here? They're going to give us as many facts as they have. We don't always know all the facts at that time. That's why we're there, trying to gather facts. So we search for what we think is appropriate at that time and collect all the evidence that we think is relevant.
So when we were going through some of this stuff, and maybe it's been a long day, so if I'm incorrect, correct me.
Okay.
You identified some of the things that you found in as sexual toys.
That's what they appear to be, yes.
Okay. Isn't it true, sir, that a lot of the stuff you found in there could be considered sexual toys by some people?
Sure.
Do you know that Exhibit 200, the orange cap, is that in front of you anywhere?
It's somewhere up
It
here,
could
but
be
I
up here,
can't.
huh? Mr. Hilson, did you bring that back for your desktop? Or is it still-
Everything should be up there.
Okay.
Which is exhibit number?
200, sir. That would be one of them.
197. There's 200 for you right
Okay.
there.
Matter of fact, I don't even, because now that I'm close to the photograph, I can see what I want to see.
That's it.
That orange cap is hollow, but it's a cap, there's a top on it, correct?
Yeah, it looks like a cap, correct.
And when you looked at that and compared it with the other exhibit earlier with Mr. Hilson, that looked like a cap that goes on the plunger portion of a syringe?
The syringes that he asked me to look at earlier look similar to the plunger covers, yes.
Okay.
With caps.
One moment, please, sir.
Sure.
When you're gathering this stuff, do you possess any ability to project as to how long these items happen to be in that vehicle?
No.
Okay. So, and when did you search the vehicle?
I believe it was May 17th, 2016.
Okay. I don't have any further questions. Thank you, gentlemen.
I don't have anything else, Judge.
Okay, thank you. You may stand down. Witness, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. People of the State of Michigan call Sergeant Zach Sparks to the stand.
Please raise your right hand. You swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I do.
Please have a seat. State your name for the record.
Zachary Sparks.
Detective Sparks, good afternoon.
Sir.
What department do you work for?
Michigan State Police, currently assigned to the Hart Post.
And at the Hart Post, what are your duties?
I'm a detective sergeant.
Now, were you part of the task force involved in this investigation?
Yes, I was.
In particular, on May 17th, 2016, what was your first role?
My very first role on that date was to assist with the arrest, bringing Jeffrey Willis into the Sheriff's Department for interview.
And what, I guess, where did you find him and what did you do?
That morning, actually the day before on the 16th, which is Monday, we had arranged that we were going to meet. I was going to meet another detective that next morning. We met at 6 a.m. at the corner of Ponaloon and Old Grand Haven Road, knowing that he was working at Herman Miller, which was down the road in Spring Lake. At that time, we met with a uniform officer, myself and Detective Levine. I have an unmarked state vehicle. We drove my car down to the parking lot and kind of sat back in the parking lot watching his car until he left work.
Now, ultimately, did you make contact, or did law enforcement make contact with the silver van?
Yes.
And ultimately, sir, did you make contact with the driver of that van?
Yes, I did.
And I just want to show you here what's been marked as People's Exhibit 42. Does that look familiar?
Yes, it does.
Is that the van that was stopped when you approached?
Yes, it is.
Now, how many folks were in the van?
One, Jeffrey Willis.
That was my next question. Was it Mr. Willis driving the van?
Yes.
And the person that you saw driving that van, is he in the courtroom today?
Yes, he is.
Could you point him out and describe what he's wearing, please?
He's on the right side of the defense table with the blue sport coat and yellow tie.
Your Honor, let the record reflect the witnesses identify the defendant. All right. Could you describe, Detective Sparks, then what ultimately was the defendant separated from the vehicle?
Yes.
And ultimately the vehicle gets towed, and I think this is one of its final resting spots. Is that accurate, this photograph?
Yeah, I'd have to see some pictures surrounding it, but that looks like the wooded area that's to the east of it where it was parked.
Okay. Now, after that was accomplished, what did you do?
Well, after making contact with Mr. Willis, he hopped in the passenger seat front of my vehicle. The whole goal of that contact was to voluntarily get him to go to the Sheriff's Department for an interview based on the investigation involving the juvenile that jumped out of the vehicle.
And ultimately, sir, did you end up transporting him to the
Yes.
For the sheriff's department.
Yes, I did, to the detective's office at the sheriff's
Okay.
department.
And after that, sir, was that kind of the extent of your involvement?
No,
Or, well, as far as that particular event was concerned? You didn't interview Mr. Willis, did you?
no, I did not.
Okay. Now, I want to talk to you about your involvement with the search of 3038 Bailey. Can you describe the significance of that address?
3038 Bailey was determined at some point during the initial parts of the investigation. I believe it was Detective Sergeant Stasiak made contact with Jeffrey's brother Larry and was advised by Larry that there was a property that Jeffrey and his other brother Ben maintained at this 3038 Bailey address. There was additional contact made with Ben, and it was determined then that Jeffrey was the only one who had keys and access to the residence.
Now, were you able to determine prior to the defendant having ownership of, or control of this residence, who had lived there?
Yes.
Who?
The residence was owned by Lawrence Willis, who was Jeffrey's grandfather. He passed away June 20th of 2011, and at some point after that, it became under the control of Jeffrey.
Okay. Looking at People's Exhibit 79, what are we looking at here in this photograph?
That's the address of 3038 Bailey. It's on the east side of the road. This picture's taken facing east and a little bit towards the north.
Okay. And you assisted in the search?
I did. I would have taken that picture also.
Okay. People's Exhibit 80 photograph. What are we looking at in this photograph?
This is a photograph of a garbage can. That previous picture of the house, again, it's facing kind of the north. The garage would have been on that northeastern opposite side, so you couldn't have seen it in that picture. This is a picture of a garbage can that was just inside the door of that garage.
Okay. And you took this photograph, why?
Because at that time, it was pointed out that there was this green gum wrapper that looked oddly new in comparison to everything else.
All right. If you could flip the next exhibit, which is People's Exhibit number 81. What's this a photograph of?
This is a picture of a piece of paper that was unfolded that in the previous picture you could kind of see underneath the green gum wrapper.
All right. Handing you what's been marked as People's Exhibit 206. It's open. Can you tell us what's in that?
This exhibit is a piece of evidence collection. That's all my handwriting on it. This is the packaging that I had collected the note in the gum wrapper into, the date that we were there to execute that search warrant, the initial date.
Do you mind pulling out the note, please? All right, could you describe for the jury that note?
The note is a I guess it's approximately 4 by 6 inch piece of paper. It's got a variety of red, I guess, and there's some red ink, black ink, and then some pencil. The note describes a variety of items.
All right, and is that the same note that's depicted in the picture exhibit 81, and the one that you collected and packaged?
Yes, it would be.
Your Honor, I move for the admission of People's Exhibit 206.
Okay.
Detective Sparks, would you mind reading what's on that note, please?
All of it, sir?
Yes, please.
Starting
starting at the top of the note,
There's a stick right there. It's probably buried under all this stuff, but you can point if you'd like. Here, hold on. There you go.
starting at the top of the note in the upper left, there's a box with the word clothes inside of it. I'm gonna have to look at the little note too because I can't see it. The note is separated into 3 sections, each, I guess, approximately 2 inches. Directly below the section that's labeled clothes, there's a variety of items. Each one of those items is marked with an asterisk. In this section, it's all red ink asterisks, and then on this portion over here, it's red ink. And what it is starting at the top left, it's shirt, pants, underwear, and her panties, socks, shoes, hoodie, coat with a question mark, and then in the next column over to the right, wallet, watch, keys, and phone.
Okay.
The middle section is again separated by a couple inch space. There's black and red ink. Most of the writing is in black ink. All of this section is black with the asterisks being black, and then there's one section here in red ink with a red asterisk, or one line, I guess one word. Starting in the upper left of that corner is small camera, big camera, small tripod with a question mark, big tripod with a question mark, gas can, matches, lube, and then the next column over, video from house, if any, and then the one line that's in red, the only line in that section that's red or word, is crowbar. That then is separated by another line to another section below that. This section has a variety of red, black, and red ink, black ink, and regular pencil. The upper left area of that section is labeled kit with a square around it. And then going below that, the number 2 in parentheses, and then handcuffs and keys following that. And then restraint bar, hood. There's a 2 right here after this asterisk here. In parentheses, a 2, and it says ball gag, and then there's a red S after gag for gags. And then below that is restraint board with question mark, toolbox, locks and keys, gloves, tape and washcloth. And then the next column over is vibrator bullet, neck restraint, bag of rubber gloves, and then this one is an asterisk with vibrator bag after it, and then below that is 4 hash marks, and then additional language. So it's an asterisk vibrator bag, and then below that, right here, asterisks, vibrator bag, and then hash mark, vibrator, hash mark, batteries, and then in parentheses a number 2, hash mark, condom, hash mark, French tickler. And then below that, in a separate asterisk, is zip ties. Next to that, in parentheses, is 19 small. And then in another set of parentheses, 7 big. And then below that is an asterisk needles, in parentheses after that, the number 4. And then the last line appears to be in pencil, and that says hook and rope. And then on the back side, there's nothing on the back side of the note.
Now, sticking, you put that back in. Sticking with this note, at some point in time, Detective Sparks, you were part of executing a search warrant for handwriting analysis.
Yes, I was.
Could you describe to the jury what you did for that?
What I took this note, and with some guidance from the question documents unit in Lansing, I drafted a search warrant, also with assistance of your office, on the contents of that note being rewritten by Jeffrey. The process is to have it rewritten 30 times so that it can then be submitted to the question document unit with that document, and then compared for, I guess, analysis of the originality of the handwriting.
Did you collect, and is part of that process collecting known samples?
Yes.
And did you do that?
Yes.
Where did they come from?
Well, I may have the language different, but the samples that he would have written on, I believe, are the knowns.
Okay.
The collected samples then would have been the samples of, for instance, I retrieved 2 letters that he had handwritten and mailed to his now ex-wife, Shar Bishop. She also provided a resume that was in some of his belongings that had handwriting on it. I believe there's a couple extra pieces of paper along with that. And then I also retrieved a note that was inside of a yearbook that Shar Bishop had provided back during the initial days of the investigation.
Now, and I'm assuming that Ms. Bishop confirmed that the handwriting you're receiving belonged to the defendant.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, she obtained it out of property that was hers and Jeff's suit.
Now, when you executed the search warrant, can you describe to the jury, you kind of did a little bit, what's the process? What did you do?
Well, I got the search warrant. Of course, it's signed by a judge. It's authorized by the prosecutor's office. And I made arrangements with Detective Matt Schultz to assist me. At that time, I had set up an audio-video system to capture the interaction with Jeff. I'd made contact with, through Prosecutor Hilson's office, his, at that time, defense attorney, Brian Hostica, and I guess as a courtesy, let him know that this was coming, and just kind of to get ahead of, in fact, if Jeff had an issue with what was going on, to accommodate him with being able to contact his attorney.
Pardon me, Your Honor. Pardon me, Mr. Hilson. Through the entirety of this matter, we've been very respectful of all of the individuals involved and referring them by their proper names. And this witness, I don't think he needs anything by it. We continue to refer to my client as Jeffrey. I'd ask that he be referred to as Mr. Willis.
Okay. It's a reasonable request.
Yes, sir. I agree. I'm
Or
sorry.
defendant. So, kind of cutting to the chase here, Detective Sparks. You set it up. You provide. What do you provide him as far as to get as close to the real thing as possible? What is provided?
Well, the only thing that's provided to him, he doesn't actually see. I don't show him the note. What I had done as part of the drafting of the search warrant was to take the language of the note with misspellings and mispunctuations and capitals that are different, and include that in the language of the search warrant. So when I met with Mr. Willis, I had presented him a copy of the search warrant and allowed him to read it. And everything on that search warrant was really spelled out as to what was expected. Each word was written on it, each asterisk before the word, misspellings. Part of that also is that to obtain the known samples for the question document examination, it's to use, if he wrote with ink pen, it's to use an ink pen. If he used a piece of unlined paper, use a piece of unlined paper. In this circumstance, I was able to locate a pad of paper that was almost, laying it on it, it was identical to that pad. And I had 4 pads and probably 4 pens, and provided him the pad, I guess actually the individual piece of paper, but showed him it was a brand new unused pad, presented him each individual piece of paper, and advised him to follow the search warrant. And it was really minimal verbal contact
just basic instruction.
So essentially, you asked the defendant to write verbatim what was on that note.
Essentially,
All right. And how many times?
30.
30? Now, could you describe, obviously you're observing this process as it's happening, and can you describe for the jury how that went? And you understand my question? I mean, as the defendant is writing this out, is he referencing the search warrant or not?
Yeah, initially when I presented the search warrant to him, there was a couple of questions that were asked, some clarifications. It was very professional. It was very, here's what the expectations are. He'd spoken to his attorney. And the page, the way it was laid out, and the way the search warrant was drafted, he was to write within a certain area of the lined portion and then to the right-hand side of the margin. And again, it was each individual line of this note was just a list. It wasn't, there was no order. It was just on the search warrant. And it's recreating those words on a piece of paper 30 individual times. So then what he would do is he would complete one sheet with all of the language or all of the writing on it. And then at that time he'd provide it to me. I'd flip it over and number it. And then I would go through and make sure that everything on it was proper, I guess. There was no errors. And I had asked him if he'd make a couple corrections. But as that process went on, I would say somewhere in between probably the 10th and 15th page, it became apparent to me that he really wasn't looking at the search warrant anymore.
Your Honor, I'm going to object. And we probably should have the jury step out for this moment. Thank you, Your Honor. My objection is that the questioning and the answer at this juncture is moving into an area I believe violates my client's right against the Fifth Amendment self-incrimination. We're describing a situation where he's responding to an order of the court to provide services, provide a writing sample. This is not an opportunity for the prosecutor to circumvent the Fifth Amendment by getting there and gathering evidence against him, by now trying to characterize how he filled out this information and then characterize it to the jury as some sort of indication of knowledge is a gathering, is an investigationary tool, and not within the realms of his opportunity to meet with my client and gather this information. He's allowed to do one thing, that is to gather that information, to get that writing sample, and to hand it in. He's not allowed to sit there and take notes or ask questions or interrogate or characterize how my client figures out. That's my client's focus right against self-incrimination. That's an investigationary tactic, Your Honor, and it's beyond the scope of the authorization by the court, and therefore it's a violation of the Fifth Amendment, and therefore it's not a mystery.
Well, I completely disagree. In fact, I anticipate Detective Sparks just talking about what he observed, and what he's going to say is that he observed the defendant essentially start writing it as if from memory, and that's it. That he wasn't referencing the search warrant anymore. He didn't have to reference the search warrant anymore. He was writing it from memory. How that is a violation, that observation, I have no clue. That doesn't, to me, rise to any level of Fifth Amendment violation. Further, the search warrant allows Detective Sparks to be in there. He allows him to conduct that examination, and he allows to make observations. He didn't ask any questions. He didn't interrogate him. All he did was watch. That was it. How that violates the Fifth Amendment, there better be some case law, because I don't see it.
Well, again, we thoroughly disagree. The search warrant authorizes the completion of this writing sample. Nothing else is allowed. This officer isn't allowed to go in and make observations. He's not allowed to go in and do anything. He's allowed to get that vital exam. That's all he's able to get. And to now say, well, based on my examples, by getting around the Fifth Amendment, which he's already invoked, I now to get to deserve him, and I now to get to tell a jury that, hey, he looked like he knew this all by himself. He's implying knowledge. That's implied investigation. That's information. That's a violation of the Fifth Amendment. That information is beyond the scope of the search warrant. Therefore, we're asking that the court not allow it.
Okay. This time I will not allow it. However, I'll give you a chance to revisit that if you have some authority to allow you to do it. Okay?
Fair enough, Judge.
So let's call the jury back in.
Were you able to collect the 30 samples?
Yes, I was.
Okay. And then you were able to provide those 30 samples plus all the other information that you testified to the question document unit of the state police?
Yes, I was.
Let's talk about, let's further talk about your search of 3038 Bailey.
Which number? 205. Thank you.
205, People's Exhibit 205. Can you describe what that is, please?
This is an evidence packet. It's not my handwriting. I'm familiar with Muskegon County Sheriff's Department packaging and numbering system. This is described as a set of keys with remote taken from Jeffrey Willis, 5/17 of 16, and it looks like JC are the initials on it.
All right. Do you mind taking the contents out, please? Is that a set of keys?
It is.
All right. In particular, I want you to look at People's Exhibit 82. What are we looking at here?
This is a.
82 is a photo.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, this is a photograph of. I'd have to look at the order, but I believe this is the back, the door to on the east side of the residence that leads to the basement. It's the outside of that door.
And that padlock was on it at the time?
Yes.
Now, you did you have to break it open, or was there another way of getting in?
There was a way of getting in. It was a key within this key ring.
Okay, so a key on the defendant's key ring opened the lock.
Yes.
Okay. You flip the page for me there. People's Exhibit 83. What are we looking at here?
This is a picture of Captain Christensen. This would have been me taking the close-up picture that we had just seen, and then me stepping back and taking a picture of him standing. And again, it does confirm to me that this is the back, I guess the east side entry door that leads to the basement of 3038 Bailey.
People's Exhibit 84. Page, I'm sorry. What are we looking at in this photograph?
This is the door that enters the garage. This is on the south side of the detached garage that's on the northeastern corner of the residence lot.
And again, it's padlocked. Was there a key in that bring that, open that door?
The same key.
Okay. People's Exhibit 85. What are we looking at in this photograph?
This would be the front door, which is on the west side of the residence of 3038 Bailey.
And again, as it's depicted there, did it have a padlock on it?
Yes, it did.
And were you able to open that with anything other than a crowbar or anything of that nature?
The same key. All the locks were keyed with the same key.
Okay. And again, People's Exhibit 86, is that a close-up of that?
It is.
Now let's talk about your view of the basement at 3038 Bailey. People's Exhibit 87, what are we looking at here?
This is a picture just after coming off from the steps are right here. It's this wall faces, this is the south wall of the residence, so if I'm looking south in the basement. Coming down the steps and then turning and just basically making a 180 right after the steps and taking a picture. That's what that picture is.
Okay. Flip to the next one, please. What are we looking at here?
That would be coming down into the basement, taking that picture, and then from there I would have just taken a picture and worked my way from one corner of the basement to the other without moving. So this is going to be the next picture over to the left. So that would still be the south wall, and this is facing in the southeastern direction.
Okay. We're still in the basement of
3038 Bailey.
Exhibit 89.
This would be just a continuation. It would have been the next photograph. This is facing the wall that's on the east side of the house. This is the steps that lead up to the door where that first padlock picture would have been taken.
Okay. And Exhibit 90.
There's the steps would go down this way. So this wall is the west wall. So coming off that first landing and taking my first picture south and then going across the basement, this then is me taking a couple steps forward and then turning back to my right and taking a picture to the west.
Next photo.
This is a photograph of the north wall. These are the steps that I would have walked down, the landing that I would have taken the pictures that went around the basement. And then right here is the entry for that last picture that was facing west. The basement of 3038 Bailey.
All right. Next photograph. This is People's Exhibit 92.
Okay, this picture would have been, this is the east wall of the residence. It's the opposite corner of the landing to the stairs, where this is the south wall. And it's me walking to that southern end and then taking a picture into that that eastern corner. Right here would be the center where the water heater and the furnace was that would have been in the way of the photograph I took standing on the landing. So essentially this is right behind where that picture would have been.
All right, specifically People's Exhibit 93. Why was this significant to you?
These cleaning products were located. They weren't in this position originally. The searchers that were down there had moved them from a variety of places sitting here. They had moved them before I had gotten down to the basement to take all these pictures. It was a variety of cleaning products that was collected from that corner.
The specific corner that's behind the cleaning products?
Right. It was identified to me as everything being within this area.
Okay.
They all stayed in that corner that they came from.
And what specifically are these products that you saw?
It's 4 bottles of Clorox bleach, 1 bottle of detergent Tide with bleach, and 6 boxes of Tide powder with bleach.
Okay. Now, were you able? Let's talk a little bit about your background. Were you able to do any further investigation on those cleaning products?
Yes, I was.
How so?
When we had collected all those cleaning products in the basement for that photograph, or when they were collected and I had seen them, I was familiar from when I was a kid working in a grocery store that chemicals and that type of thing, they have product codes that are printed or stamped in some fashion on them. While at the scene, I located the codes on all 4 of the bleach bottles. There was one of the Tide boxes that had a code on it. The other ones, that portion of the box was missing. And then the Tide bottle also had a code on it. While I was at the scene, I made contact with both Clorox customer service in Florida and Tide's customer service in Wisconsin, and asked them if they'd help decode those codes to determine the manufacture date of those products.
And based on that information, were you able to, I guess using your words, decode the manufacturing dates?
That would have been their words, but that's the language, yes.
Were you able to do that?
Yes.
All right. And what did you find?
The 4 Clorox bottles, the code on it started with the letter A3. They all were the same. I was told by Clorox that that's a plant identifier. And then there's a variety of digits after that. The digits that were identified as the date are the next 4 digits after the first 2. The very first digit being the year of manufacture, which in this case was a 3. They verified on the phone to me that it would not have been 2003, it would have been 2013. And then the next 3 digits after that would have been the day of that year.
Okay. So if I understand you correctly, all 4 of those Clorox bottles were manufactured in 2013?
3 of them were manufactured in 2013, 1 in 2014.
Okay. How about the Tide bottle?
The Tide bottle...
Or the Tide, whatever box you mentioned that you had found the code on.
The Tide bottle and the Tide box had a different coding pattern. It simply started right out with the first digit was the year. The next 3 digits were the day.
All right. What were you able to determine from that?
The Tide bottle was manufactured January 31st of 13, and the Tide box November 1st of 13.
Okay. Now, just a couple more questions and I'll be done with you. As you observed and walked through the basement, did you observe any significant areas that indicated any kind of water damage?
I didn't see any areas that seemed to be affected by water damage.
I mean, anything that, you know, how if you've had significant water damage, you can, there's either lines demarked around on the walls, and there's certainly quite a bit of furniture and whatnot. Did you see anything that indicated that?
Nothing that was obvious. I've had water damage myself, and this is all concrete, where I would have thought that there would have been some sort of staining or something. I was familiar with that there had been some statements that there was water damage in the place before. There was some cardboard boxes on the floor that didn't look deteriorated to me. They also didn't look like they'd been moved in a long time. So, but I can't say for sure. I wasn't there.
All right. Now, in your search of this particular residence, did you ever find a toy gun?
No.
How about an airsoft gun?
No.
How about any kind of fake gun whatsoever?
No.
I have no further questions.
All right. Since we're talking about, let's talk about what's more fresh in folks' mind. Is this board available? Is there another sheet of paper? No. Council,
You can erase that.
thank you much.
It's right up here, Fred. Mr. Johnson, I'm sorry. Right here. Right here.
figures the one that has no heat. I think the blue one. The blue one's good? Let's give it a shot. You know what, if I take them all over. Oh, the A, 3, 2, 3. Okay. Okay. First of all, since I don't see, good afternoon, by the way.
Sir?
I see that you don't have your notes up there, and I don't want to, I want to ask you some questions about what I've written up there on the board is for the records A3323. And you wrote a report about what you just testified to, correct?
Yes.
And so what I'd like to do, if it's okay with you, is provide you a copy of the report with your formula on it. I'm fortunate to have some of my notes on it as well, but that shouldn't bother you one way or the other. I want to make sure that you can, okay, now, let's see here, what if the green one works? According to your formula, you call Tide and you call Clorox,
Yes,
correct?
sir.
And there are 800 numbers there, correct?
Yes.
And you ask them for information about what those numbers, those codes on the boxes mean, correct?
Yes.
And those first two numbers, the A3, what did they tell you that meant?
That would have been part of the bleach bottles. The A3 was only preceding the 4 bleach bottles,
Okay.
and that was the plant identifier.
All right. So these first two numbers here, were you told the plant identifier, correct?
Yes.
And I want to skip, let's see, A23. Did I put all the numbers in? A332. Is there another? Did I miss a digit?
There is another number. in there.
The figures. Let's put A33. There's another 3 in there. My apologies. Okay. I want to skip to the back. Let's see. Is that correct?
There's 2 2s.
Okay. Then I've messed it up all together. Let's start over. A3 are good, right?
Right.
Okay. And so what are the next 4 numbers?
3 2 2 3.
3, 2, 2, 3. Okay, thank you. I guess together we can do it. All right. Now skip to the back 3 numbers there. The 2, 2, 3. What is that? What are they for?
They were the 223rd day of 2013.
Okay. And that leaves a 3, correct?
Right.
All right. Now, and what you're telling us is that 3 doesn't mean 2003. That means 2013, correct?
That's what I was told.
Okay. Now, and you called Tide and they told you the same thing?
Yes.
Okay. Is it possible you got different instructions from Clorox and Tide?
No?
Okay. So did you get the instructions to decode from Tide in writing?
No. It was on the phone.
Okay. So you never saw a copy of that formula in front of you, correct?
No, it was described to me while I was speaking to them on the phone. I was at the scene speaking to them on the phone.
And on your report, it doesn't say that the first 3 indicates 2. Well, it doesn't say that you disregard the fact that it doesn't say 13, it just says 3. It doesn't say that on your report, does it? In other words,
I don't know.
if this is the year, we might read that 2003, but you're saying disregard the fact that there's no 1 in front of there, it means 2013.
That's what I was told.
Okay. And so does it say that anywhere in your report that you disregard that?
I don't know.
Okay.
I would have to look at it.
Well, is it there in front of you? Can you take a quick look and see?
This is all of it. No, it doesn't say that.
Okay. And thank you. Thank you. I shall continue. Okay. All right. And your testimony is those bleach bottles were in that area, but for this picture, you put them all together and the Tide. Right?
I didn't. When I came upon that portion of the residence to take that photograph, they were moved.
Okay. And is it did I hear you correctly? This had been the home of my client's grandfather. Or
That's correct.
Okay. And so, do you know when the grandfather passed away? Assuming that's what he did. But I think,
June 20th of 2011 is the date that I have for
okay.
that.
So, you mentioned when asked by other people that if you noticed any signs that that basement had been had water damage to it, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you didn't notice anything like that.
I didn't. I don't know.
Did it smell of bleach?
No.
And you know what bleach smells like, correct?
Of course.
And is there a washing machine in the house?
No, not in the house at that time.
And did you see, scrub brushes, cleaning materials, any other cleaning materials that you saw?
I'd have to look at the pictures again real specifically to see about that. I don't remember
Let me
specifically.
ask you, you've been a detective for how long? Police officer, law enforcement.
22 years.
22 years. Is there anything significant about the combination of Tide and Clorox?
I would think during the time frame it seemed unusual in a house that was very unkempt. It seemed odd.
All right. Especially if that stuff was purchased in 2013, right?
Potentially.
If it had been purchased, well, strike that, that's speculation. Oh, I meant to ask you. You mentioned that my client is the only person who had access to that property, correct?
That was my knowledge.
Okay. From where did you gain that knowledge? If you can.
I'm not even sure who I would have obtained that from. I believe it was from Detective Stasiak, who made contact with the two brothers and determined that Jeffrey was the only one who had the key.
Okay. And he had the key, correct?
Yes.
One key.
Yes.
Okay. There weren't two keys to open those locks on that keychain. He just had one, correct?
I'd have to look at the keychain, but I don't believe there was more than one. I think there was only one.
Does that strike you as unusual that there be a lock but only one key to it? There's no spare key? That strike you as unusual as a detective?
On this keychain,
Yes, sir.
I don't know that I would carry my spare on the same keychain as my original.
And you don't know if there is a spare?
I don't.
And you don't know if my client has it, if there is one?
No, I don't know that.
So if there's a spare and my client doesn't have it, well, strike that. Did you find the name Rebecca Bletch or Bletch in the course of your investigations there, in that house?
No, no.
And when did you arrive for that search for 3038 Bailey?
The 3038 Bailey was separated into 2 days on the initial search, and then we actually searched that residence 2 additional days throughout the year of 2016.
Well, let me be more specific. The green wrapper and gum wrapper and the paper with the list on it. What date did you find that?
May 17th of 2016.
And the condition of that evidence appeared to you to be, matter of fact, what caught your attention. It seemed fresh, correct?
Right. Another person at the scene pointed out the green wrapper,
Yeah.
which was oddly bright and out of place in that can. I agreed.
Was that can indoors or outdoors?
It was indoors.
Okay.
In the garage, I guess.
In the
if that's
garage.
indoors, yeah.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
I have nothing else, Judge.
Okay, thank you. You may stand down.
Actually, DJ, should I put this in here?
Judge, before we break for the day, I would move for the admission of the keys 205.
No objection, Your Honor. Your Honor, may we oppose for a moment?
205 keys.
I have a couple of housekeeping matters.
Why don't you take care of that first?
Just a couple other housekeeping matters. The Craig Harpster 911 call we heard on day 2, maybe. It's 165. Moving to admit that.
No objection?
Will be received.
And then The second live round discovered by Detective Schultz is Exhibit 177. I move to admit that.
Okay.
Received.
And last but not least, the design patents that Mr. Brooks, which is 176. I move for that.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, received. I'm now looking at 1 through 206, except for Exhibit 23.
Yes.
Thank you. All be received.
What, may we, sorry, Judge?
Sure. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's a little bit past 5:30, so we're going to wrap it up. I just want to remind you that you may not have any discussion with anyone about the case. You may not have any discussion with anyone involved in the case. You may not do any Facebook communicating about this case. And we would ask that you please return tomorrow morning at the same time. Be ready to go at 9:30 if you would, please. And I do want to tell you that we will be stopping tomorrow afternoon. I anticipate close to 3:30. And so just let you know that for your own planning purposes. Other than that, I hope you have a pleasant evening, and we'll see you back here in the morning.